All right, let's do our last review. Let's head out of here.
All right.
So our last review of the day is going to be for Ted Lasso season 3. So, like a lot of shows last week, a lot of them ended, had their series finales, like Barry, like Succession, and the same thing can be said for Ted Lasso. So, Ted Lasso is the story of a Kansas American football coach who gets a job coaching a European football team there in Richmond. And he ends up kind of coaching it. At first, he's kind of hired as a joke by the owner, who's Rebecca. He's just hired to basically tank the team because she's, very vengeful against her ex-husband and this. And so, but eventually, as he kind of integrates himself into this team, into the organization, into Richmond, people just go like, it's Ted, and everybody loves Ted.
Mhm.
I mean, Ted can't help just win everybody he meets over. There's so many times in this series where he'll meet somebody and they're antagonistic towards him at first, like the fans of the team, because when he gets there, they're just sucking and losing.
Yeah,
and then
they call him and chant in the stands, wanker, wanker, wanker. And eventually, just over the course of the season, it just becomes a term of endearment.
Yeah, so he just ends up just kind of winning all these people over. There's one reporter who makes an appearance here again. He quit his job as a reporter. Then he's writing a book about the team and about the whole kind of lasso effect that's happened on it. That character, what's his name again?
Trench Prim, the Independent.
Yes. So he kind of comes because at first he was kind of on that train too of like, oh, is this guy some American guy who's going to come in here and coach this team? But again, like what Ted does, he wins them over. There's a therapist that he has in season 2 that comes on here. Again, kind of standoffish. It's like, hey, I'm just trying to keep a good professional business relationship here. But again, she even kind of comes over to a little bit and like him. So that's just the kind of impact that he has.
But even in season 2, especially with a therapist, that was more or less because she was trying to get him to open up as a therapist. And eventually they became friends towards the end of that season.
Yeah. That's just kind of his effect. And Ted Lasso is played by here Jason Sudeikis, who is one of the showrunners here, and created the character. Originally, the character was it was kind of like part of these NBC promos that they would do here or there. It was kind of
it was a promo for the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so that was kind of character that Jason Sudeikis created. Then it got spun off into an actual TV show. And this was dealing with this season here. If you remember the last season, it left off with the character of Nate, who was originally, he was just a, what's the term? Kind of like
it was the kit man. He was the guy who's like in charge of washing all the uniforms.
Yeah, who's the kit man. But, Ted Lasso was the one that kind of gave him more of an opportunity in the past seasons and was like, hey, you actually got this genius mind for football. It's just you need to assert yourself, and he gets bullied and picked on by everybody on the team, especially the Jamie character, who's a total asshole for the first couple of seasons, and then eventually he kind of turns around there. You just kind of get bullied, but you actually got this genius mind for football, and then he kind of went rogue and turned evil. Basically, he even went dressed in an all black suit, the hair went silver, just went totally evil and went to go coach for the other team. The other team, which was West Hampton, who's the owner of that team, is Rebecca's ex-husband. The actor, he was also in Buffy as well. He played Niles in that. Who's that actor?
Anthony Head.
Anthony Head, who always dressed really like this is. I think this is the final episode. He actually looks like a vampire hunter. He's got this long ass duster kind of on, and he's got like this all black. And he looks pretty good. Yeah, he's aged pretty well. Anthony Head.
It took me a while to realize that was Giles.
Yeah.
It took me way longer than I would care to admit.
Yeah. So yeah, that was like, oh yeah. I mean, he's pretty awesome here. So he owns the team there, West Ham United here. That's kind of one of the rival teams against Richmond. And Richmond, they're trying to ascend. They're trying to be a much better team. And I think it's like the goal of they're trying to get from like their spot where they are now to the Premier League and then to the Champions League.
It's like that's a running joke, and Ted is confused about that, and so am I.
Yeah, because I don't watch football. I don't watch European football, so I don't know the difference.
It's like because they're in the Premier League, but it's like sports outlets are like projecting that they're going to finish in last place in that entire section, and that's like one of the big things in the whole season. It's like
Mm,
it's not finish last, and we'll like win the Premier League, and we'll go into the Champion League,
yeah,
Champions League, I
and
guess.
then there's a scene where Ted's like, so there's a championship league which is below the Premier League, but then the league above the Premier League is the Champions League. That just don't make no sense. I don't understand that. Like that's just
I was like,
confusing as
huh.
uh,
Yeah, sports kind
um,
of fucked up.
some other characters that you see here, you see also Juna Temple's character, who's Keely. She has a PR firm. She does that, and she works a lot with the Richmond team there. You're helping them, set up interviews for a lot of the players, doing a lot of that stuff for them. You also have Roy Kent, who's on here as the
Mhm.
assistant coach of the team, who was a former player. He eventually ended up retiring there. And he does good. And there's some more growth with him. At first, I remember there was these things that came out about the show where it's like, is he actually CGI? Is the actor who plays him? Is he like artificial intelligence or something? Like, you know what I mean? Like there was kind of that stuff kind of coming out about the guy when the show was kind of first out. But so you see kind of like, and then characters in a little bit of different spots than they were, and see some growth there. Even with the Ted character, who like I think you mentioned this last time we talked about Ted Lasso, of like you see kind of where the negative can kind of
Mhm.
come in of like this happy-go-lucky type personality
Mhm.
there, of where the downside of that can be.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, the toll that that kind of toxic positivity has on your psyche.
mm, yeah. So that kind of you kind of see that a little bit. Um, so this season three coming in, this being the last season, like give some of your input here. How'd you like it? How do you think it compares to the other seasons? How did you think it kind of wrapped up here?
So for me, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the third season of the show, because what I think this show does so well, like with how delving more into the character of Ted, delving into the psychological toll that this level of toxic positivity comes with, having this dynamic of the team grow and change and improve, and kind of affirming that this like supportive style of coaching that Ted has, eventually it will pay off. It just will probably be a while before that happens. And all of that is great. And there are so many great character stuff, especially with some of the supporting cast of the show, like with like with the players that have kind of just been in the background in previous seasons. Like we get much more with Colin, who's one of the players on Richmond, who I'm blanking on the character's name, the actor.
Billy
Uh,
Harris.
yeah, Billy Harris, who plays Colin, he gets a much bigger role in this season, because one of the subplots is that he is a gay athlete, and talking about the pressure and the struggle with that. And there's this beautiful scene in an episode where the team takes a trip to Amsterdam between him and Trent Krim that is so well done. But I'm talking about like individual scenes, because that's my biggest problem with the season. It felt so unfocused. It's because for a lot of episodes it feels like it was meandering. It's like this season had 12-hour and like some odd episodes, whereas previous seasons I thought those were like closer to like 45 to maybe an hour. And it felt like there was a longer runtime. There's so many different arcs that happen throughout the show. Like the first half of the first like couple episodes are about the drama of trying to sign this show's equivalent to someone like Ronaldo, and the struggle that happens on that. There's issues with Keely's new relationship with a woman. There's issues with uh, eventually the team adopting this new strategy that happens, and all the hurdles that happen with that. And it felt like this season was so unfocused compared to previous ones.
Mm. Yeah, I kind of feel your thoughts on that because I don't know why they decided to end it this season. I don't know if
Mhm,
you know that. I felt like they had a good maybe one more season of material
mhm,
here because like Barry, ended season four. I think
mhm,
typically shows. I think season four, season five is typically a good season end off things of good material there. That you can kind of wrap up a lot of stuff. Characters get growth, everything like that. So if they're
Mhm.
in here in season 3, and these are full, like you mentioned, full hour long episodes
Mhm.
here with these episodes, and with a lot of different storylines. You have a storyline with Rebecca, who's the owner,
Mhm.
who she's trying to have a kid. She's kind of maybe wants to do that, and it is
Mhm.
kind of heartbreaking there because you realize she's like she's an older woman. Can
Mhm.
she even do it? And she realizes she can't.
Mhm.
So that's kind of a little bit of a heartbreaking moment there. And then certain episodes, it feels like after school special type episodes of,
Mhm.
like you mentioned Colin, who's the person who he's hiding the fact that he's gay, but it's like it feels like this is the gay episode, or
Mhm.
this is the episode about, like, there's one episode about Anya Sanya, who's the Nigerian player. It's like this is the episode about racism, and you know what I
Mhm.
mean, and everything. Like there's not really a lot of time developed a lot of those things. And then when that stuff happens, because the episode that was kind of about racism was that he's kind of going back and forth on Twitter with, like, I guess, like Ann Coulter, like an Ann Coulter type
Yeah,
chick.
an Ann
Uh,
Coulter type figure, and then a restaurant he's trying to open gets vandalized, and it's this, yeah, it kind of feels like an after school special, but it is kind of sweet, and that is kind of the charm of this show,
hmm,
is that it does feel like an after school special, but with better writing.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, it is kind of a sweet moment where when after it gets vandalized, all the players come and then they help them clean it up. And you see, I mean, the chemistry is really great here, with all these kind of the team, and it feels like a family there with all them kind of together. And that is one of the bright spots of it there. And you see kind of these friendships that have built up over the course of the show, like Keely and Rebecca, or even an odd friendship that we get to see in this season is Roy and Jamie, who they were
Mhm.
first rivals, what I mean, on being on the team together because he was like the older player, and then he was like this
Mhm.
new young rising star player. But then after he retired, then there was a love triangle there between Keely, him, and then Jamie. And then there's a great scene there with that where they're like, okay, hey, decide, pick one of us, and she's like, she just kicks both
Fuck
of them
both.
out.
It's
Yeah,
such a beautiful thing.
she keeps both of them. But and then you see in this season, because with you mentioned that player that they're trying to sign, like that's one of the big things this season. They're trying to
Mhm.
sign like this equivalent of Ronaldo there, or like I guess for more of an American sports reference, it's like I guess he'd be like Aaron Rodgers. It seems like
Mhm.
what I mean.
Yeah.
That'd be more of like more of an American equivalent to him. But yeah, they're trying to sign this big player, and then James kind of a little jealous because it's like, hey, he's this
Mhm.
huge star player, and he's like, I want to be better than this guy. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
was the top dog here on this team, and then Roy's like, I'll train you to do it. And then you see them kind of growing. There's a bond. So what are some of kind of the newer kind of relationships here that you see this season there, like with Roy and Jamie?
Yeah, the entire dynamic with Rory and Jamie, I thought that was with excuse me, Roy Kent and Jamie. I thought that was so well done. It was these two actors that have had constantly changing dynamics between each other throughout the entire run of the show, and getting to explore this new one where it is this like coach and mentee relationship, eventually growing into a real organic friendship. It was like even after the whole like fight they have, it's like, "You want to get a beer? Yeah, we cool."
Mm, yeah. Yeah, and I like that. And the actor who plays Jamie here, we mentioned
Yeah,
Roy Kemp. Brent
yeah,
Goldstein plays Roy, and then Jamie, who's the
yeah.
actor here?
Jamie's played by Phil Dunster.
Phil Dunster, who looks like Sam Witwer from Star Wars Unleashed. There,
Yeah, he really does.
like
It's kind of uncanny.
yeah, it's pretty spot on there. But yeah, I kind of like that. I kind of like a lot of the dynamic there. And I mean, what keeps me, really, I think enjoying the show. I'd have to go back. I think this season is lesser than it compared to the other
Mhm,
two seasons because I think they're trying to wrap up all these
mhm,
storylines and do so much with this that it just kind of feels like even with these long episode lengths, it just doesn't feel, that conclusive a lot of times. And we're going to talk about a little bit about the finale there and what you kind of thinking like that. But yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of kind of moving pieces that they, just like I think you could use some more time to flesh this out. But yeah, like I always love the time. I always love the Diamond Dog meetings. Like those always do it for me. I always love when they do the whole Diamond Dog call and they round up and they get, it's Coach Beard, it's Ted Lasso. Who's what's his role? He's like
Oh,
the manager, I think.
yeah, he's like the I don't know what his role is, but it's played by Jeremy Swift.
Yeah, I forgot exactly what his role is. He's the director of football operations. That's what
Mhm.
he is.
Yep,
Uh,
that's his job.
it's him, and then you get the reporter. The reporter's writing the book, and then they all kind of come together. First, it was Nate too, who was a part of it, but
Mhm.
that those moments always kind of give me. I always kind of like those moments there. They always kind of feel really good in the show, and really good stuff. The stuff with Nate, kind of going to this other team, coaching it.
Mhm.
Him turning evil there. Um, I don't think they spend a lot of time with him. There's a few scenes that kind of go back and forth between there,
Mhm.
and then for him to kind of learn a lesson that I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
again, if you played it out a little bit more, it'd be more interesting.
yeah,
What's some of your thoughts there?
that's the probably for me the weakest part of the season. It it's this redemption arc from Nate that just feels completely unearned. But it also felt organic to the character. Is like even though he is trying to like become more assertive and trying to like fit into this more like toxic masculine world of Rupert's team, it's like all of those insecurities he had before were still there. And I
Mm,
think that was like a nice little commentary. It's like even if you're trying to put on this like huge amount of bravado, everything that you dislike about yourself, all of your issues, they're still coming with you. You're not going to
mm,
fix them by putting that. But I think Nate needed much more comeuppance than just he meets a girl and starts a relationship with a girl who in previous seasons didn't even talk to him. And as far as I can tell, their one like positive interaction was he gets ditched at that restaurant by a famous model. And she's like, okay, I kind of pity you. I'll hang out with you.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, I gotta agree. Yeah, a little bit more of a kind of come up with this for him there, because yeah, I mean, he kind of sees this toxic culture kind of going on. This team. The owner here, Anthony Head, who plays Rupert here. Yeah, he kind of just sees like, oh yeah, I don't really want to be a part of this. Like, he still see even though Rupert he's got a new wife and he's got a baby, that he's still fucking around.
he's
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 still,
still a fuck boy.
yeah, you know what I mean. He's still fucking around with assistants and everyone there, going on these dates, and he's like, yeah, I don't think I want to be a part of this. Like, this is not what I want to be a part of. So you kind of see this. So maybe a little bit more there. Again, feels so jammed in this season with all these kind of other storylines going on. So it kind of feels very crowded. Um,
Mhm.
but over, I mean, I still think the finale
Mhm.
I still got emotional. I mean,
Yeah,
seeing it. I think Jason Sudeikis and seeing those scenes, especially the scenes with the actress who plays Rebecca. What is her name?
oh, Hannah Waddingham.
Hannah Waring.
I,
Seeing
I just
that.
I just love that little fake out at the beginning of the finale because
Mm,
there's always kind of been this dynamic between Ted and Rebecca, and we open the episode with Ted just strolling down into Rebecca's kitchen. It's like his hair's a mess, he's in his pajamas, and it's like, wait, did they sleep together? And then Coach Beard comes out in a bed hammock and is like, nope, no, they didn't.
and yeah, so I love their scenes together, and when she's trying to convince him to stay, and the
Mhm,
emotion man, I thought those scenes were really really good,
mhm.
and really, and the final moment there, when they're at the plane, you know what I mean, when she's about to get on the plane and leave, I thought that was really good. What did you kind of so think about the finale there?
I think it's like this really beautifully told story. It's like Ted is a character that did everything that he wanted to do with his time at Richmond. He ultimately changed all of these people for the better with just this relentless positivity, promoting this culture of positive reassurance. And the team's goodbye of doing the number from Sound of Music, I thought that was so well done and a great callback to the previous season when they wanted to do bye 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 to the doctor.
Mm, right. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, then it was set to Father and Son by Cat Stevens,
Mhm.
which I thought that was always an emotional song to kind of end things out on. I
Yeah,
haven't been
that still gets me in the feels every time.
yeah, that got people in the fields when they saw Guardians too.
Mhm.
When they kind of saw that. So yeah, good song choice to end out things. And then like you see a lot of like did you feel like with the conclusions they give to some people, do you feel like those were good conclusions?
I felt satisfied with a lot of the conclusion. It was like Beard, he stays in England and marries his like really toxic on again, off again girlfriend Jane, which that was always kind of a running joke. Roy becomes the new head coach of Richmond, which I think is a good arc for him. Rebecca sells like almost half of the club to the fans, which I think is this beautiful thing and a great callback to uh, that was something that was set up a couple episodes ago, where we get the return of Edwin Akufu, who is like this billionaire who was trying to recruit Sam Abasanya to the team, and he tries to create like this exclusive super league, but she talks a lot of other football team owners out of it because it's taking it away from the fans and the working class and the people who love the sport.
Hmm. Yeah. And then you mentioned Roy Kent coaching the team, and also he's going to Ted's therapist. He's getting therapy. He's
Mhm.
trying to work through his issues, and he had a great moment of there, like I'm still the same. You know what I mean? I've
Mhm.
been. It feels like I've made all this progress, but then I haven't. What's stopping me? And he even asked to be a part of the Diamond Dogs there, which was like like it was like a Terminator trying to, what I mean, like trying to understand the human
I,
emotion.
every time, yeah, with that moment, I was like in that meme of all the people at the pub at just cheering. It was like, "Can I be a diamond dog?" It was like,
Yeah, and it's good. I mean, yeah, I mean that was good. She sells part of the team there to the fans. That was a good moment. The fans that we've seen, the constant
yeah, the
kind of
three
recurring there.
hooligans at the pub.
Yeah, which was really good there. And I mean, still some really great episodes. I think still some
Mhm.
really great emotional moments. Even if I thought this season was like, even like when his mother comes in and he talks to his mother. Ted's he does that. I thought that was really good. I
Mhm.
think that was some really good stuff there. Um, so yeah, I mean, even though there's some kind of uneven stuff here with this season, and I don't think it's as strong as other seasons, I still think it ends on a okay note for the
Mhm.
most part. And yeah, so I would give it I'd give it a stream it, maybe
Mhm.
a little kind of middle to high stream it. What about for you?
For me, I absolutely adore the first two seasons of Ted Lasso. I feel like they felt like they were telling this very, very, very warm, very like like schmaltzy, but still very well written story about positivity. And while I think season 3 does it ending on a satisfying note with the finale, I just feel like the season was so much more unfocused and it needed more time. Well, I think it needed another season or shorten the episodes to get more focus. There's like a lot of storylines in this season felt like they could have been cut and very little would have actually changed in it. It was like the entire scene with like the Ronaldo figure I felt could have been cut, like Keely's like a new relationship after she broke up with Roy Kent. I felt like that didn't really add anything to the rest of the season. And because of that, I got to give this a stream it, but I still felt satisfied by the ending.
Mm, yeah, yeah. I mean, the stuff with the hot shot,
Mhm.
football player there. What was his name?
Zava.
Zava. Yeah, that
Mhm.
was. I mean, I was like, I can kind of take it. I think a lot of that stuff you could have kind of cut and then given
Mhm.
it to more of the other characters that we already know. Because eventually, just halfway through the season, he just
Mhm.
leaves anyway. He just goes, he just retires anyway. So it's
Yeah,
like,
that dude
okay,
just leaves like 4 episodes in.
yeah. So yeah, you have that. Stuff with Keely and when she dates like this billionaire's daughter, Jackie, I think was her name, or
Mhm.
yeah, Jackie. Again, it feels like, like I said, there's like a racism episode, a homophobia episode. This episode, like the stuff with her, like she did an episode was like a Me Too episode
Mhm.
where, her leaks get, her
Yeah, it's
uh
the revenge porn episode.
yeah, revenge porn episode. And I was like, okay, that's this episode. And then you have, Jackie's chastising her, going like, well, you're the one that took the video, and everything like that. And she's, Keely says, I don't feel guilty about taking the video. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I did it, and that was that. But yeah, so again, not enough, really, a whole lot of time, spent on those things. I thought you could delve into more. So yeah, that was Ted Lasso, season 3.